Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for calling this hearing on such an important topic. Sadly, it's very, very timely. Mr. Braniff, can I just start with you? Actually, just want to follow up on something you were just saying to Senator Padilla. So I wasn't quite clear from your answer to him. You're anti-doxing or pro-doxing?
Anti-doxing, Senator.
So, and you were talking about norms, that we're struggling with norms now around the internet and what is public and what not. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, Senator.
So what would you say about elected officials who are actively doxing federal law enforcement agents?
Senator, I'd say that's problematic behavior.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. Well, let's just be a little more specific. The doxing of ICE agents, the doxing of Border Patrol agents that elected members of Congress have engaged in. Do you think that's a norm that ought to be encouraged?
No, Senator.
Would you condemn it here today?
I condemn anti-democratic behavior that puts individuals at risk when there are alternatives.
Well, I'm sorry, what does that mean? Does that mean no, not really, or what? You're saying it's wrong to dox these people or not?
Yes, Senator, I'm saying it's wrong to dox individuals instead of using normal order, policy debates, civil discourse, voting to address differences in a democracy.
Good. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I think that's important. And I think that your point about norms is well taken. But I've been shocked just on the doxing question. I've been absolutely shocked to see elected members of this body and of the House of Representatives actively advocating for the doxing of federal law enforcement officers and then doing it. Some of them posting information about ICE agents, trying to post their pictures online, trying to post where they live online. I mean, that's unbelievable. And I don't want that to happen to anybody. Judges, sure, but let's start with our federal law enforcement who are out there doing a terrific job and literally putting their lives on the line. I think of our brave police officers, there's some in this room here who currently are not getting paid, by the way. It's the idea that these folks would be doxxed is, I think, just unbelievable. I would plead with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to stop this. Mr. Knowles, while I've got you here, welcome. Great to have you here. Can we just drill down a little bit on the political violence question and maybe just do even a little more truth-telling? Because I feel like we talk about political violence generally. We talk about violence against conservatives generally, but let's just be real specific. A lot of the violence that we're seeing is actually against people of faith, and more particularly, it's against Christians. Isn't that fair to say?
That's certainly fair to say, Senator.
I mean, Charlie Kirk, what he said just a month before his death, and I heard it, he said it to me. I mean, Charlie was a friend. I knew him for almost a decade before his assassination. What he said was the legacy he wanted to leave was a legacy of faith. What he wanted to be known for was his faith in Jesus Christ. And I thought he was just incredibly bold about saying that publicly all the time, you know, when he could be talking about politics. And sure, he talked a lot of politics, of course, but what he really talked about was his faith. And you can't tell me that did not play into the reason that he was killed. Let's look at some numbers, though. Here's the Center for Religious Liberty. These are some recent stats. The most recent stats that we have for the year 2024, 415 separately reported instances of acts of violence against churches in the United States. We're talking now about arson, bomb threats, firearm incidents, and shootings, as well as vandalism more broadly. The Biden administration prosecuted about 0 of these particular threats in their time in office. What do you think it says that we're seeing this massive uptick in violence against people of faith, against Christians? I mean, what's the reason for this, do you think?
Cardinal Manning wisely observed that all human conflict ultimately is theological. A lot of our big policy debates in recent years have really been anthropological and religious in nature. What is a man? What is a woman? These kinds of questions. And there is no doubt, Senator, that the attacks, widespread and increasing, on churches has been underreported and ignored in some cases entirely. You know, there's been a lot of dispute over where the violence lies, on the left or on the right. And we've observed, now it seems, I think, indisputable that it's mostly on the left. But in earlier years, it has been observed that a lot of incidents just don't appear on the registers. And two of the most prominent that come to my mind recently, the Covenant school shooting, in which a trans-identifying killer massacred Christian children when they were at school, and of course the Annunciation school shooting, another coincidentally trans-identifying shooter killing school children. The fact that these were shootings related to churches, related to faith, is no coincidence at all. And the fact that Charlie Kirk said that what he most wanted to be remembered for was his faith is no coincidence either. He was absolutely right. That's the heart of the matter.
Let me, I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman. I know my time is nearly at an end, but I just want to press on this point. What message do you think it sends, Mr. Knowles, when our own government implicitly encourages this kind of anti-Christian animus? And I'm thinking in particular of the infamous FBI memo in which the Biden DOJ and FBI attempted to recruit informants into Catholic parishes, in particular traditional Latin Mass Catholic parishes. This is our government now effectively telling the world, you know, we think these believers are kind of crazy. I mean, we think they need to be spied on. These people need to be watched. You know, we need informants in the choir. We need them in the pews. We need them at Mass on every Sunday. What kind of a message do you think that sends when our own government is attempting to spy on people of faith and put spies into pews in churches?
4 words, Senator. The message is, don't go to church. And coincidentally, I'm here today to testify about this event at the University of Pittsburgh when Antifa threw an explosive during one of my events. The FBI reached out to me afterward. They asked if I would speak, and I said no, because the story had just come out that the FBI had been infiltrating Catholic parishes under the Biden administration. We know that the DOJ had been prosecuting nuns, had been going after pro-lifers, had been going after Christians broadly, and I couldn't take that risk. A damning fact about how our government has operated and the position of Christians in the United States.
I just want to leave everybody in the room and watching this with one more picture of Mark Houck. Speaking of pro-lifers, Mark Houck is a devout Christian. He believes in the right to life of every American. Here he is with his beautiful family. Our own government sent an FBI SWAT team to this man's door at 5 a.m. to arrest him with guns drawn in front of his children. He was later acquitted, I might add. They charged him with ridiculous crimes that would amounted to essentially praying in front of an abortion clinic. I think it's time for our government to do some soul searching. You talk about soul searching that needs to go on. How about the fact that our own government in the last 4 years used the FBI against pro-lifers, used the FBI against Christian parents, attempted to recruit spies into Catholic churches? When our government is doing this, is it any surprise that we see deranged lunatics out there shooting people like Charlie Kirk? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.